Hey Haas, we're live.
So
What's up, man? I think the best place to start off while everybody gets in here is just a little background into how long you've been tinting, how you got into tinting, and so on.
I just started yesterday.
The perfect place to start.
Approximately 15 years ago is when I first got into it. Um, I was a young guy working at a truck wash. I'm in North Carolina. Originally grew up in Kinley, North Carolina, it's off of I-95. Um, Working at a truck wash. My mom worked at an insurance company in Smithfield, and she tells me, she's like, "Hey, you're into cars and stuff. There's a like a little car shop or something dealing with cars opening up across the street." She said, and they got a help wanted sign. And initially, I was wanting to get away from doing that type of work as far as washing 18 wheeler trucks. So I stopped by. I had a 1998 Mitsubishi Eclipse at the time, and I had tinted the windows. I had bought a whole roll of film and got to the point where I could get the back glass done in one piece. It took me pretty much the whole roll of film, but I got it done. No creases, nothing like that. I went to this tint shop, met up with a guy named David Evely. Uh, he had been tinting at the time for around 20-ish years. Uh, Pulled up, got out, talked to him. Hey, I'm interested in the job. He said, "Have you ever tinted any windows?" I said, "I've tinted my Eclipse." We walk out. He looks at it, looks at all the edges, like all around everything, looks at the back glass, and he was like, "You did this?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Give me just a second." He was actually the shop manager. There was a guy that owned it that had never tinted a window in his life. Um, he says, "Hold on a minute." He walks away. I see him pick up his phone. He comes back to me. He says, "Can you start tomorrow?" I came back the next day, and the first week, I got to where he was showing me how to do roll down windows and stuff like that. After about 2 weeks of doing roll down windows and pretty much getting those nearby perfect, I started learning how to shrink back windows, and within a month's time, I was doing the entire cars by myself. So
And about how long ago was that?
around 15 years,
About 15 years ago.
maybe
Okay.
plus or minus a couple of months of 15 years.
Okay. So then from there to here.
From I worked with them for 6.5 years. The company called was Pro Tint Autographics. Um, what we did like little vinyl stickers, window tinting, small vehicle stripes and stuff like that. But the owner of that particular company was also an owner of a vehicle wrapping, uh, banner laying company. We it kind of interchanged. So like if I want busy tinting windows or anything at the tint shop, I would be wrapping a car,
Mm-hmm.
wrapping a truck, wrapping a box truck. We actually did like banner installs on the side of 18 wheeler trailers, full 52 foot long by however tall the van was,
Mm-hmm.
banners. Um, so doing that, and I don't know, it was fun.
So you were a cop in between there, yeah?
Yeah, did
So
that.
how did that
Uh,
transition from there to police to then now back to tinting full time? Yeah.
So after doing that for 6.5 years, the owner of that particular company was starting to pull my leg, do some things under the table that I wasn't very fond of. So I was like, I got to get out. I got to do something else. And at the time, I was still young, so owning a business at that particular time in my life, I don't think would have been necessary per se. I wanted some application to join the basic law enforcement training. Um, did that in 2011. Graduated in December, and I tinted windows between then to keep money flow or whatever. Because when our basic law enforcement training here, when you go through one of the community colleges, is there's no pay. Like you don't get paid nothing. So in the meantime, I was, bringing funds in, still living with my mom at the time. Um, Once I graduated in December, the next year was very important, so to speak, because if I didn't find a job in law enforcement within a year, I would either A, have to find something else completely different, or B, I would have to go back through the training, because you have a year time span before that certification runs out. So finally, in June of 2012, I got into law enforcement. And when I started law enforcement, I kind of dwindled down my window tint stuff, mainly because that was taking a lot of my time. Um, in the meantime, I met my wife. We started dating in August of that year. And just learning the ropes of law enforcement and getting into it, and stopping cars and dealing with people's problems and all that kind of stuff.
So, what brought you? I guess what if I mean I don't know if you want to share, but like I'm curious what transitioned you back into window film full time because now you have your own shop, yeah.
Yeah. So it got to the point, probably now, throughout my entire 8 years of being a police officer. I would have a bunch of people, hey, I need my windows tinted. Hey, I just bought a new car. Hey, you gonna tint my windows? Hey, I need this hood wrap. Hey, I need this strap down the side of my car, so on and so forth. So it got to a point, probably I'd say about 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I started pushing it a little bit harder. Came up with Xtreme shades, um, and just I pushed it. And then last year, my wife, she was having a hard time with her at her job, which actually, believe it or not, was at the same town that I was a police officer at. She worked in the town hall.
Mm-hmm.
But without going too far into detail about municipalities and the way they treat, their employees, uh, she would walk out the door and would be in tears because she did not want to go to work. So I, finally, I told her, I was like, look, quit, be done with it. I can make it work off of the police salary and tinting windows. I've got enough business,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll keep grinding and grind harder. Um, and so last year she left her job, and the past, a little over a year, uh, I've noticed that, or I noticed that, hey, I'm making more money in a day tinting windows than I am making in 2 weeks
Wow.
risking my life,
Yeah.
going to people's houses, fighting with people in the middle of the road, in the backyard, in their kitchen where there's knives and all these other things that could potentially hurt me. To
Yeah.
where the only thing that I have to really worry about when I'm tinting windows is getting burnt by a heat gun
Yeah.
or getting cut by a ultra blade. That's it.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's the reward over risk is a
Sure.
whole lot different, a whole lot different, especially in today's time.
Yeah. Got it. Well, that makes a lot of sense. And then like something we've talked about like last week was a topic was like more women in the window film and like I just think like we're seeing more and more women, especially just because people are realizing like you know whether it be because they enjoy the day better working together or just the financial opportunity. Somebody that anybody that can contribute to the business now, like since there's so much upside and so much potential that like it's not hard to outdo another job typically when you're so it just kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
And whether they whether the wife starts tinting or they help with booking or they help with talking to customers, whatever they help with, it's value or help is at such a premium. It's so helpful to have somebody that also so vested and
yeah.
consistent and you know,
And my wife, man, she's came to the shop. She's learned the ropes. She can help me do a set of front doors in about 5 minutes. We can pull a truck in and knock out the entire truck, or the two front doors in 5 minutes. We can Her and I
yeah,
together can knock out a full four-door car in about 30 minutes. I mean,
yeah,
it's crazy on how much she's picked up within the last year of actually helping me lay side windows. She hadn't really learned anything on the back window aspect of it, but so
huge. So One of the things I wanted to talk to you was I'm curious, like, with your experience in law enforcement, like, you were commenting, it was a topic a couple weeks ago, and you were contributing in the comments, but basically the idea being like, what's your perspective on window film, illegal window film? Because you have a perspective that I definitely don't have, and that, like I said, is one from law enforcement. So where do
Well, to throw it out there, I know a lot of people's probably thinking, you're a police officer. You tint their windows and then stop them on the street and then write them a ticket and then tell them to come to you to take it off and make more money that way. No, it did not work that way. Um, in 8 years, eight in 8 years, I wrote 2 window tint tickets.
so
One,
yeah.
one, I stopped the car. He had just left a known drug area. That drug area being mostly crack cocaine. Um, sorry, my wife and little boy just come up from the beach. We're on vacation, by the way.
Nice.
Um, anyways, uh, stopped the car, just left a known crack cocaine area. Uh, Pulled him over for window tint because I had no other reason to pull him over, right? Nothing else. Stopped him, walked up. Hey, reason why I stopped you is because your windows are too dark. Um, he was a jerk. You pulled me over for my window tint, yada yada yada. I mean, he just blew up. If you're gonna write me a effing window tint ticket, then write me a tent ticket. So I walked back to the car and wrote him a tent ticket. He told me to, right? Um, the second one, I had been watching this house with our narcotic guys, and this particular house was running a bunch of heroin. Stopped. The only reason why I found to stop the car was because of the window tint. That was it.
Mm.
Uh, Stopped the car, and it yielded a very large amount of heroin. Um, but other than that, I had stopped some cars previously in the past for window tint. The people were cool. You know, hey, you cool with me? I'm cool with you. It is what it is. Let you go on a warning. No big deal. Um, illegal window tint. My vehicles are all tinted illegally, right? One of the little personal car that I drove back and forth to work with at the time, my police job, it had illegal window tint. That's because I was a police officer driving to and from work in my personal vehicle. I didn't want people to know who I was when I was pulling up to my house with my wife and 4-year-old,
Right.
right? Um, Other police officers, same thing. A lot of people, a lot of them are, they want their windows dark because they don't want people to see who they are and who their family is and all that stuff.
So
Uh,
as far as like training goes, it sounds like you were at complete liberty whether to pull somebody over for tint or not. Sounds like it was completely in your hands. Is does the training there, like, is the guidance based? Do you think more, if there is, like, based on, like, is it more for safety of driving? Is it more for your own safety when you're approaching vehicles? Um, how does that work? Is it
I will definitely say that I've been in some iffy situations where I've pulled a car over for something completely irrelevant, the window tint, and the windows would be, 2 layers of 5% and you can't see in.
right?
And things got hairy, per se. I'll leave it at that, not to go too far into detail, but things got hairy. Um, and I can definitely see where in today's time, civilians are scared of the police. Police are also scared of the civilians, just because there's animosity both ways, because people are killing cops, cops are killing people.
Right.
It is what it is. I don't
Right.
agree with everything that we see on the news with some of these police officers that are shooting folks. That's a whole different aspect. Um, but as far as the safety in general, at my tent shop, my windshields, they don't go darker than 70%. I had a guy email me about 7 times this morning. I'm on vacation. I still reply because I make appointments whenever I get back. He kept telling me, "Oh, I had 35% on my windshield and this, that, and other." Well, cool beans. I don't care. Like, my shop, my rules. If you don't like it, there's other shops that'll do it around me. I don't care.
Right.
Um, to me, windshield's darker than 70%. 50% pushing it, but 70% is a liability for you, for me, my family, your family. It's no thank you. Side windows, generally speaking, I don't go much darker than 20%. Um, Occasionally, somebody will come in with a pickup truck where my area is saturated in pickup trucks. They're like redneck central of the state. Um, a lot of these kids come in. They're like, I want 5% on my windshield and double five on the back. No, dude, go somewhere else. Not doing it. Just because my family drives on the same road that these people are driving on,
Sure.
and it's to me dark. I mean, on my Eclipse years ago, I had 35% on the windshield. It stayed on there a week. I pulled it off. Too dark.
Yeah.
I had like $300 headlights to where they were like the brightest thing at the time, and you look for miles and you still couldn't see.
Yeah. Chamal left in the comments. He was asking where you located. You're in North Carolina, yeah? What city?
That's Smithfield. My
Smithfield.
my shop is located in Smithfield. Yeah.
Where is Smithville approximately?
Um, Raleigh, North Carolina is the capital of North Carolina. Raleigh.
Right.
We're about 30 minutes east of that,
Got it. Got
just
it.
off I-95.
So you opened the shop. Before that, you were doing part time, but you opened a physical location as of what, a couple months ago? Maybe six
Yeah.
months ago, 3 months ago, somewhere there.
You can say part time. If you ask my wife, it would be I had two full-time jobs.
Sure.
Because I was literally I would work a 12-hour shift, nighttime shift at the police job, get off at 6 a.m., go home, shower up, change clothes, jump in my truck and trailer, and off I went and worked all day.
Is there anything that like you came across now with this, like going full time in it, or full time in it, that you didn't see like coming, or that do you wish you did it sooner? Does it feel just right?
I wish I did it sooner.
So like when would you wish you, because you mentioned earlier like when you were younger it might not have been the time to own your own business. Do you think it actually was the time to own your own business potentially, or was it somewhere in the middle?
It's possible, but at that particular time, I wasn't very well, like really good with my money. So I think I would have went out of business quick if I would have done it back then. Being in law enforcement, it kind of showed me a lot of responsibilities as a younger adult, that I know now that I did not know then.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to put a year mark on it, I'd probably say about 6 years ago. I wish I would have done it sooner. Been in law enforcement for two, and then boom, then got into owning a business full time.
And then like what do you like, what is that vision moving forward? Like you're obviously very young, so you have endless potential as to where it could grow, what direction it could go in. Like when you laying in bed at night and you're imagining your tint shop, what does it look like in 10 years, or like what is your best case scenarios?
Um, Best case scenario, I'd love to have a crew of 4 or 5 window tinters. Um, Two of them being mainly flat glass guys, and then 4 working in the shop because the way my shop is set up, it's a single bay, but it's deep enough that I can put 2 cars in, and have 2 guys on each car, and potentially moving into to actually like fully designing wraps, maybe hiring a designer, Carrie. No, I'm just kidding. Um, Hiring a designer and potentially getting all of the wrap print equipment, a printer, laminator, big plotter, all that stuff. So that's way down the road, but yeah, that's where I would like to be, close to the time of retirement. That way I can have people running and working the shop while I'm out living adult life.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's a good time to have a vacation because once you start hiring people, it's like
Yeah,
there's no such, the vacations become fewer and fewer, potentially,
I've
or
I've heard
more.
I've heard.
Depends how you do it. It's supposed to be you have more vacations, but you might end up with fewer. Just,
Right.
you know. Um, so, what type of film do you carry?
I'm using Flex Films.
Have you always used Flex, or have been like not always since day one, but like have you been using it for a while now?
Probably about a year and a half, 2 years, roughly.
Okay. Before that, what were you using?
But well, let's go back. When I first started with Pro Tint Autographics, 15-ish years ago, We were using Aegis films. Used Aegis films pretty much the entire time that I was there. Actually, the whole time I was there. Once I got out, I created my own little account with Aegis.
Mm-hmm.
I used them up until probably 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it got to the point where I was getting some bad rolls as far as like the way they were rolled up, and then having to wait for return and all that stuff. So I just whatever. Um, then I went to Scorpion. I used Scorpion for probably a year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, not to get into pissing matches about film and stuff like that, but went to Scorpion, left from there, and didn't know at the time. I did not know as far as the whole. There's only a certain amount of companies that's actually manufacturing window tint, this, that, and the other, and that this film could potentially be this film just with a different color in it. Da 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
I left Scorpion and went to Max Pro. There in North Carolina. Used Max Pro for about 2 years, and then that's whenever I switched over and started using Flex films.
So, common question people are always ask. You see in the group, obviously, in Window Film Revolution, for example, is hey, I'm new to tinting, or yeah, I've been carrying this. Like, what's the best film to carry? What should I carry? Like, how did you like? Obviously, like, not trying to bash anyone or anything like that, but like, how? What were the contributing factors that led you from, hey, I'm here. Okay, you got some bad rolls. Then you tried somebody else. What kind of kept you moving down the road?
Um,
Is it more quality of film? Is it more customer service?
both,
Yeah.
both. So one of the two companies, without mentioning names, customer service was.
So like bad
Uh,
customer service means what? You try to get in touch with somebody, you can't talk to them, or they tell you to go f off, or like what is it? Kind
Although
of.
one of those companies told me that their 35% was 35% when you put it on the glass. And at that point, I had really been tinting long enough to know the difference. And they were like, "No, you put our 35% on a piece of glass, it will meter 35%. North Carolina legal limit 32, right?" So I was like, "All right, hey, you know your film brand better than I do." So because this was back when I was first ordering from this particular company,
Mm-hmm.
and they were like, "We'll send you 35. You'll like it. It'll be good." So they sent me 35%. I installed it on a car, and 2 days later, that same lady come back to me and she said my car failed inspection. I was like, "What are you talking about?" She said it failed inspection. So I grabbed my temp meter and put it on the car, and lo and behold, it metered 27%.
So
So that, I mean, the film company, the salesperson didn't even know
right.
that, you know. But again, I had been doing it long enough that I knew that 35%, if that's what their film says it is.
So when you call them back up and you let them know how great your day is going, what do they say?
uh, they kind of brushed it off, like, we can send you another roll of what you want, da 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 da. But I mean, we're sorry,
So I'm curious,
but I mean
was that
that's
an off roll somehow, or was that like literally just how they were? Like if they were going to send you another roll, was it going to be the same?
no. They ended up telling me, well, no, you should have bought 35, and I said, no, that the this person, they told me that 35 was going to meter 35 on the glass,
Got it.
meaning that really and truly the film should have metered around 38 to 40 in order for it to be 35%.
Got it.
Um, so if there was a couple other things down the road that with that particular company, I ended up switching and going to the second company, and their their film, uh, I started seeing fading, not necessarily turning purple, but I seen fading issues starting within
Right.
6 months on my personal vehicle. Um, I mean, I there with that particular question that you asked, as far as or not that you asked per se, but all these people on these different tent groups saying, "Well, I'm just starting," or "I've been using this film." Dean Mitchell's got the perfect answer for that. So shout out to Dean for that. But I mean, my suggestion is get samples, put it on your personal vehicle, put it on your friends' cars, see how you like the shrink of it, see how you like the adhesive on it, the hard coat, all that stuff. Talk to the reps, talk to the company itself. Um, See what you like and whatever fits your business.
So we're going to tiptoe here, because I don't want to step on anybody's toes. But you brought up Dean Mitchell, so you brought it up. You brought up Expel. I'm curious, if you carrying Expel was ever a thought you had, if it was something you explored, or I'll give you an easy scenario is, hey, to you, both films, Flex Film, Expel, they're both great films. You happen to go with Flex Film, and that's what it is. Like, not trying to set anything up, but I'm curious if that was a road you go down, because Dean is a great guy, Expel's a great company, and so on. Not to take away from any other companies that are out there, but what do you say?
I I thought about Expel before I went Flex Film, but at the time and still currently, there's another guy that's using Expel, and I don't know the exact reason. I was told it was because there was somebody that was close to me using it.
Yeah,
He's a mobile guy.
yeah,
He's a cool guy. No issues with him. We talk. He's helped me out. I've helped him out, so on and so forth. Anyways, uh, but at the time, I did not have a shop. I did not have my trailer mobile set up. I was doing it out of my garage at home, and I was told that that I wouldn't be able to carry Expel. So, no hard feelings on my end. So I went a different route, and I'm happy I did. I'm fully satisfied with Flex Films and Ralph.
good deal. And yeah, that's one of those things, like, you don't want to be on the receiving end of being told that you're not going to be a dealer potentially. But at the same time, if you were a current dealer and there was somebody else is on the receiving end of it, it's something you obviously can respect as a company. Obviously, you do, since you like Dean and talk positively of them. But
All right.
makes sense.
No issues at all. No issues at all. As a matter of fact, Michael Burke, he asked me, I don't know, it's probably been about 3 months ago. He had a phone conversation about a big job that I know that I would not be able to handle just being me by myself. Um, and I spoke to him about that particular job, and at the end of our conversation, he was like, "Hey, you want to be with Sunstoppers?" And I was like, "No, I'm happy with what I'm doing. Thank
That's cool.
you."
So yeah, I'm actually wearing a Sunstopper shirt. It was supposed to come in for last week's Wisdom. It came in a day after, and I happened to pick up out of the bunch that Michael sent one that was green. And since I'm using a green screen, I'm invisible. So that worked out perfectly. And real quick, in the comments, Chamal had asked what the limits on tint are where you're at.
32% is the absolute lowest. So the number in the law enforcement book is 35. They give a 3% leeway. So any darker than 32%, that's whenever it's considered illegal on the sides and the back glass of passenger cars. 32% on the set of front doors of trucks, vans, and SUVs. The back windows can be as dark as you want.
Got it. So window film groups. You're pretty active in window film revolution, yeah?
Yeah.
And change the subject.
No, you're good.
Um, how long have you been active in those groups? How much, like, what do
Uh,
you get out of them, for those who maybe aren't so active in there? Tell us. What do you like? What do you not like?
say that
Oh,
one more
I'm
time.
saying,
You
like,
kind of
for
glitched out on
for those who maybe don't find themselves in the groups, they what do you get out of it? Why are you in there? Why, like, how have they helped you?
All right. So I was a police officer, right? Part of reason why I did that is because I wanted to help people. Um, and being in these groups kind of allows me to carry that on, but in a different aspect because now I'm something else that I truly love and enjoy doing. I'm able to actually help somebody with a back glass that they're having issues with, a windshield that they're having issues with, particular tools or anything like that. I enjoy helping people, and that's when it comes to the groups, that's you know my main group is obviously WFR. Um, I'm one of the moderators on the group, so I try to help people as much as I can, whether it's me posting a video to help them with where I've seen this particular car is having issues, and I happen to get one in my shop, and I'm going to take a video of it and show you how I do it and how I'm able to get it done in a quicker manner to help you. The feud group, I watch it. I enjoy a good laugh. I love it. It's fun. Um, but obviously that type of stuff isn't allowed in WFR and some of the other groups like pros and
Hmm.
where's the other one I'm on?
United.
I'm not on United.
Hmm.
I guess I got kicked out of that one. That's fine. Um, I think it's because of my admin role in WFR, but no hard feelings. I still love you guys. um, but yeah, it's all about helping. And there's another group called bottom loading window tinners or something like
Hmm.
that. I've posted several videos, and that particular group has helped me out a whole lot, just as much as WFR has. Because I don't know, probably about 8 months ago, I actually started bottom loading, and that's every car that comes in my shop, I bottom load it. So sometimes I'll get a car in that I haven't done yet, and I'm like, ooh, I need to go to that page and watch, see if there's anybody that's done a tutorial video on it.
Yeah, that's super freaking cool when you're willing to like just contribute to a group like that. Because there is kind of like this sentiment a little bit of like, oh, you're not a real tinter if, and you're not a real tinter if, and like that to me is like wasted energy. And why don't you just show us what it's like to be a real tinter if you're a real tinter? And
Yeah,
if it takes 25 years, it takes a year mark or something,
yeah,
then show us what comes with that.
yeah.
But don't like it can't just be something that's talked about, you know?
It's like the one of the big things is if you use a plotter, you're not a real tinner.
Hmm.
Uh, my response to that, without saying it like on the groups and stuff, and potentially getting my hand slapped or whatever, come to my shop. I'll out tint you cutting. It don't matter to me. Um, because
So,
I can hand cut just as good as my plotter cuts.
something that sticks out there to me too is like the whole like if you use a plotter, you're not a tinter. I mean, I
Yep.
couldn't disagree with that more, but it doesn't matter. But my next question, I guess something that I ponder after the tint wisdoms that I hear that sort of stuff on is I go, so if what if somebody only tints flat glass and let's just say they can put up I don't know 100 French panes and maybe 600 square feet in a day and they tint 6 days a week, they make $2,500 $3,000 a week and they've been doing it for 15 years but they don't know how to tint the side window of a Maxima. Are they not a real tinter because they
No, they're
can't
still a
hand cut a
tinner.
Maxima? Are they a tinter still? I just
They
want to
are
make
still a
sure.
tinner.
And then what if they
Yep.
had used a plotter to cut out those squares and they put that before they put it on the small panes? Are they smart or are they not a tinner?
Work
Because if you're
work
doing small
smarter, not
panes
harder.
and you don't use a plotter, I'm not saying you're not smart, but I'm just saying using a plotter I don't think takes away from your ability. It would just show like more efficiency.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And and to kind of go along with that, somebody else asked a question. I don't remember which group it was, but they were like, "Well, I mean, I'm opening up a shop, and I got a guy coming in with me, or whatever. Should I only show him how to use the plotter, or should I show him how to use the plotter and hand cut, or should I which?"
Right.
Well,
Right.
my suggestion to that is you you can do it just by plotter. My wife, she can't hand cut nothing right now.
Yeah.
I still see her as a tenor because I can leave my shop with her working on the side windows after I've already knocked the back glass out. I can leave my shop to go run an errand or something and come back and the car's tinted. Well, if you're not a tenor
Yeah.
and you cut it out with a plotter and it still gets tinted, then how did it get tinted? Casper didn't come in here and tint it, right?
No, and if the power goes out and now you have to be able to use a torch to be a real tinter, you also
Exactly.
have to be able to tint in the dark to be a real
Yep.
tinter because the power's out. I
Yep.
mean, I don't know you're doing your customer too much service if you're trying to serve them. I don't know how you're going to charge them. Hopefully they're paying cash because you're not a real tinter if you don't have a credit card machine in the dark with your torch. So you see that like endless path that goes down.
Yeah.
Like if I go to Starbucks and the power's out, I'm good. Like I don't
Exactly.
need you to, pull out your lighter and make coffee
Yep.
with it. Like so
I
I don't know.
I did comment on that particular question where the guy asked if he should do both, train
Yeah.
both, or just one or the other, and I definitely feel like everybody should know how to hand cut.
Yeah.
Like if I were to hire somebody tomorrow, I'm going to teach them how to hand cut
Yeah.
first, right? Um, because that's how I learned. I you know I wasn't handed the tool right off the bat saying here's a plotter, go cut out this 1994 Camry.
Right.
Um, I'm going to teach them the hand cut. That way, once they do learn how to operate the plotter, load the plotter, weed all the film off, this, that, and the other, install that way. Um, if they get to that point and the power goes out, like you said, well, what are you going to do now? Like, you can't, or if the cutting head on the plotter goes out, or you dig too deep in the strip because you had to change the force between 20% and 5%.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I
I,
mean, look, if you go get a car aligned, there's some cars that they're not going to be able to align for you because they don't have the equipment. They're going to scan the VIN. They're going to go, I don't have this one. And like,
that's
you're not an alignment shop. They're definitely an alignment shop. They just can't service your car. So like, it
right.
is what it is. I think the other thing to note is like,
But
if you're,
then those,
go ahead, go ahead.
so on the alignment part, I mean, if they've got the big machine that costs $60,000-$70,000 to do a vehicle alignments, well, those guys that particularly only know how to use that machine and has never done it the old school way with yardsticks, well, they're screwed. They're not going to be able to help out like the mom and pop shop down the road that they started
Right.
45 years ago
And
before the machines were even apart.
there's demand for both, and there's pros and like there's
Yeah,
room in the industry for both. It's just I feel like it's a wasted energy again, like trying to define it or trying to say
yeah,
one is better than the other, and this is you don't need to make it better because typically whatever people are saying is better is like what they're doing, and they're
yeah,
like, yeah, no, this is actually the better way. That's cool. Like it should make your life better if that's the better way. But
yeah,
unless you're like trying to really help people out, like one of the contexts that comes up in whether plotter or hand cut is, hey, if you train somebody to hand cut, they're going to have to, they're going to be able to go compete with you very easily because they can tint windows. Whereas if they only know how to use a plotter, somehow they need you. Now, I feel that is not well thought out. That is not a well thought out theory because somebody who wants to go compete with you can also buy a plotter.
yeah,
Like they're definitely available. You
yeah,
don't have the only one. And then the other thing is like I just think that the way to look at it is like you don't own your customers, you don't own your staff. So like
that's
you
right.
don't own your customers. Like they're not you don't own them. They can go somewhere else, but they don't go somewhere else because you provide value to them and they like you. So if
Yeah,
you look at your employees like that too, you don't own them and nothing you can do can unown them. Thank God
exactly.
for that. So
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So at least in this country that so you have to look at it just like you treat your customers really well because you want them to come back to you. You have actually fewer staff than you have customers, so you need to treat them even better than you treat your staff
yeah,
or than your customers rather, because there's more fish out there that'll need their windows tinted, but there's less people. I don't know why I said fish. There's more people out there that need window tint than there are people that are going to come tint windows for you. So it's a shift of where the value really is.
yeah. And and that's that going back to where I first started tinting windows at. That's the problem that I run into. I did not feel like I was being valued as an employee. Hell, even with my police job, I probably would still be there today if I actually felt like I was valued.
Right.
But different story for a different day. But the tent shop that I worked at, I mean, the guy tried to make me part owner of the business. Like when it come down to tax time and the company lost money, and yeah, they tried to
Yeah.
make me and the Dave guy that I was fitting windows with. After we had a conversation about it, I'm like, no, I don't want to be. I'm 20 something years old. No, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I totally agree with that.
I think there's a huge transformation in the industry over the last 10 years as far as if you're a tinter and you're looking for a place to work. I think now more than ever by far you can find in just about every major city a very professional, more than one professional tint shops that run their crews professionally. They have vehicles, they have
Yep.
uniforms, they take it seriously, they have great reviews, they care about their customers, they'll give you insurance or some sort of benefits or whatnot. Like it is now a you can find great jobs, I think, within window film. And I think that's
Yep.
changed. I don't think that was the case 15 years ago. I think more than likely 15 years ago, if you were tinting windows at one point or another, you did it in a flea market,
Yeah.
you know, even if it was just a stop by. But like flea markets were a bigger
Yeah.
part of your day. You just like, I never see on the group somebody being like, yeah, I tint out of the flea market. Like I know it happens
Yeah.
and it's nothing wrong with it. It's a whole
Yeah.
market. But what I'm saying is I never see it in the groups. Nobody ever says like they'll tint on a dusty field
Yeah.
in the middle of a field in the desert
Yeah.
outside with the wind blowing, but not in a flea
We
market.
we in the town that I'm at, or in the town that I live in, there's actually there's a huge flea market. It's probably the building itself is probably 4 football fields big. Um, and then there's a huge parking lot area that they've changed over into kind of like an outdoor portion of that same flea market. And there's like these little carports. They've actually put up, I don't know, there's probably 50 to 75 of those metal built
Mhm.
carports. And there's two guys that's out there that they went and put plastic on three of the walls, and they pull their car in there and they tint the windows. You know, props to y'all, but no,
They
I'm gonna
probably
I'm
do
gonna
like
have
230 cars a day at,
to.
at
Well,
$79. But
yeah.
whatever. So a topic I just want to bring up that oh, Michael Burke left a comment. He was just saying that I found a guy who talks more Southern than me, my man. That's
Come on,
you.
bro.
So
Johnston County. Ah,
so we've spoken about IWF more. IWFA, no, yeah, IWFA, International Window
NWA.
Film Association. IWFA. Don't go to IWFA.org. It's the International Women's Fishing Association, which is not what you need. You need to go to the .com, which is the window film, not the woman's fishing.
All right.
So I thought, I was like, I went to the .org because it came up. Their website was down yesterday, and I was like, oh my god, did this really turn into a fishing? This is what they've been working on the whole time.
Uh,
So I'm curious, just your perspective, if you are a part of the IWFA, if it's something you've considered, if it's part, like, what do you know about it? What do you do with it?
um, I'm not a part of it. I haven't done any like monthly anything like that. I did I did a flat glass job last year that actually made one of their magazines.
No, so is it the
But
IWFA magazine or the Window Film Association magazine?
no, I'm sorry, that was a
Okay,
window film mag.
IWFA, yeah, separate.
Different. I'm sorry.
It,
So
easily
that that that
confused.
that obviously shows you
Well,
that I don't know the difference.
well, the conference is the International Window
Right.
Film, so IWFC. So it's
Yeah.
only one letter, so it's easily swappable. So, but just back to the IWFA, not part of it. Don't pay yearly.
No.
Never like. Do you use their website as a resource for your?
No.
Okay. Um, do you pay any? Do you pay the BBB every year? The Better Business Bureau.
I do not.
You pay Yelp?
Do not. Nope.
You pay anybody?
You.
Tint Wiz.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for that. Okay, so IWFA. I mean, it never came across your radar, I guess, is the question. I'm just, I try to get a feel for it. Maybe you
No.
know
I
something.
I haven't. I mean, I haven't done a whole lot of research into it. And I mean, it's possible that it could be something that I look into after today's conversation. But I not really looked into forking money into that. I'm not sure if it's supposed to like help my business or whatever the case may be. I guess if I was associated with them, maybe it would help local people to me would to come to my shop for tent or whatever.
Maybe.
But um, I know
Maybe.
you brought up Yelp, but I'm not on Yelp. I do the whole Google stuff, but other than that, nothing.
So when you were opening your location, wasn't it kind of the same time that COVID was hitting at like the exact same time?
Roughly. Roughly. So this year is actually, I mean, last winter. Let's back up to winter. Winter was actually kind of crazy because before that, the year before that, my window tint stuff had kind of slowed down, but at the same time, I wasn't pushing as hard as I was last winter. But last winter, it was crazy. I was doing just as much then as I am right now. Um, I was staying 2 to 3 weeks booked out, and then come the whole coronavirus mess, and I when was it May, June, July? Those 3 months I was booked out to the next month,
Because you weren't open
completely booked.
or because you were so
No,
busy?
because I was so busy, I was booked out
Got
that
it.
far. So at the beginning of May, when somebody called me, I'm like, yeah, we're gonna have to book out until June, 3rd, June 4th, and then when June came, I was booking into July.
But you
Um,
were still working. You're still tinting cars. You're still open.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So when that
I never
happened,
stopped.
was there some sort of like potential you stopping? Like, did you think like, okay, I may have to close down my business? Was it was just comes down to your city, or were you like, nothing's gonna stop me. We're staying open.
That one,
Nothing's gonna stop.
I was gonna keep going because I mean, I tiptoeing here. Everybody says, well, this whole coronavirus thing is going to be done at the end of the election, yada yada yada. I, I grew up with other things like the flu and all that mess, all of that stuff coming in. And that's not me downplaying the
I
coronavirus
understand.
per se, but you know, I, I've lived in a house with somebody that had severe flu growing up, and it's very contagious, and I never caught it. If I caught it, then sure, I would close down. And, a matter of fact, during this whole coronavirus thing, probably about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, um, I came home, felt a little weird, went to the bathroom, took my temperature, and I had a fever. So at that point, I went back and called everybody that I was getting ready to deal with the following week. Hey, we're gonna either have to reschedule, and a couple of people were still like, "Well, if you're still feeling okay, you still want to come tint my windows, that'll be fine."
Yeah.
No, because I'm not gonna push that envelope too far. So I stayed in my bedroom for, I believe it was 3, 4, maybe 5 days, something like that. And then after, because I went and got tested, test come back negative. As soon as it come back negative, I was back on the road. So I mean, I don't know. I if I get it, I get it. If I don't, beautiful.
So
Um,
I feel like this whole coronavirus, what is, and this is kind of, I guess, where it circles back and like why I brought up the IWFA because I wanted to know where you stood on it. But it's come up a few times, and one of the things that I hadn't mentioned on here that kind of been on my mind is like when the coronavirus hit, everybody's scrambling. Like everybody's scrambling to, are we going to be open? Are we not? Who's open? Who's not? How are you open? Did you get a letter from to your governor, from your mayor? Do you have proof? Are you an essential business? Well, we also do detailing. Well, and it was just like everybody was trying to do everything. And some people took precautions, some people didn't, some people closed, some people didn't. But what was not existent in our industry was there was no authoritative, there was no group, there was no any guidance, and there was nobody at bat to say, okay, this is how we can handle this industry. We can handle this industry, and we can put these procedures in place. And if you take this class online, then we'll give you the certificate. You can take the certificate, you can leverage it with your city. We'll give you the paperwork, and this can help you stay open, and so on. And we talk a lot about in these past episodes, like what could they be doing as far as like IWFA or what is the need in the industry. And we talk about state laws and we talk about, and those are long term things, but there are short term, immediate things where like we had nobody. Like if you were a barber, you were back in barbering most likely with a certificate of that you
yeah,
went through COVID training and so on. There was nothing like that with window film.
right.
And I just think that beyond the dollars and cents and beyond keeping businesses open, as a window filmer, it gives you a sense of security knowing, hey, there is this, community that's looking out for me that has power to like leverage and make things happen. And we didn't have that at all in the industry. And I'm not blaming
Yeah,
them, but I am saying they are in a position of, hey, if you're, if somebody was going to do it, that would definitely would have been like a very good step. It would have made it very
yeah.
relevant, and I think it would have drawn in a lot of people to maybe want to be part of that organization because it would be very clear today how they can help and how they are helping.
Yeah.
And it was
I could
silence. It was crickets.
I could definitely see where them coming in and saying, "Hey, we've got this, and we can streamline everybody doing the same exact thing across the board." I could definitely see where something like that would help in
Yeah.
today's time because now you go in. I don't know, like let's just Walmart for an example, big name box store. They've got all this signage saying 6 feet apart.
Right.
Wash your hands regularly, stuff like that. And I mean, I've got a couple of things in my shop, like in the bathroom, in my waiting room pretty much says, so keep your
Right.
distance from everybody. And in the bathroom, there's a thing that says wash your hands. Make sure you wash your hands for like 35 seconds or something. But that's mainly because my wife made me get it. But
Smart lady.
as far as like enforcing stuff, um, I'll say that I was the first person, as going back to the police career, I was the first person out of the group that would be like, no, I'm not going to write this business a citation because there's customers in here that aren't wearing masks. I'm not doing that. Um, and that's how I feel about it. If that person don't want to wear a mask, that's cool. It don't affect me.
Right. But
And if it does, then I was the one that wasn't also wearing a mask. Then it did affect. It still wouldn't bother me. You know what I mean? So,
But
I,
as a window film
I
company, I think like being able to say, hey, I have some residential consultations to go to or with some flat glass installations, and I have something that I can email to every one of our customers that we're going to be coming to tomorrow that says, or whatever it is, that, hey, this business follows the guidelines that were provided by this organization and this is how it's handled
right,
and this is what you can expect and so on. Instead of, because there are some companies who are, they made those 6 feet apart signs and they made those wash your hands and they had those
yep,
instructions for their customers, but I bet that accounted for less than 1% of the window film companies actually out there.
right,
So like I just think that's a huge opportunity, and maybe it actually takes a window film manufacturer versus an organization. Who knows who it'll be? But I'm bringing it up to shift the work onto somebody and hopefully get it done.
but maybe they're watching this episode and
Maybe they're
they'll get
watching. Maybe
something going.
somebody else is watching.
Good.
That's the idea. Is look, put it out into the ether. Maybe somebody wants to jump on it. Maybe we'll
Huh.
do it. Maybe somebody else will. But it is an opportunity. I think has tremendous value.
Could be done by Tint Wiz. Who knows?
Could be done by Tint Wiz. Who knows? Never know. We're planning for the next pandemic. That'll be the tagline.
Maybe there's no more for a while.
Gosh, I hope not. I really, really hope not. I really, really, really hope
Because
not.
I will say, opening the business in the middle of all of it, as far as opening the storefront, that was, I will say it was definitely kind of shady because I didn't know which way it was going to go. I
Right.
didn't know if I would get in the business, in the building, and
Right.
and boom, like that. And even I worked out a deal with the people that own the building.
Yeah.
Um, I'm renting it, and I actually got them talked into a month-to-month rent lease instead of a year lease. So I, I can't complain with it at
No.
all. So
But
if something
there's other scenarios where like I know for sure if you're in California where you keep your business open, they're going to come to your door, they're going to give you a ticket. You keep your business open, they're going to shut your power off and they're going to, keep you from entering your like that's
say
what it
that's
is.
crazy.
And then next thing you know, a few months later, you've lost the your business because you can't afford anything. And I don't want to say your life is over because it's not. You've just learned a great learning lesson. You you've maybe found what we call like a foundation, like the rock foundation when you're digging. You hit like the bottom, and you'll build from there. But what a
Right.
fucked up feeling, for lack of better words or scenario. So
Yeah.
like to not know what could
Come,
happen with opening or not, crazy.
come to North Carolina. You can stay open. Just don't go to one of the bigger cities.
Florida too. If you go to the Panhandle, I don't think you need. You definitely. I don't think they sold one mask in the Florida Panhandle. I don't think one mask. I don't even know if like surgeons wear masks over there. Like I don't think anybody wears masks.
No, they probably just do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any questions? Any?
No.
I do know that there was. I want to bring one up that where I posted in WFR the other day. Um, somebody said that as far as like what would they be looking at whenever they started a shop, like if they were to open up a shop. You're gonna have, if you're watching, I don't remember who it was per se, but I think it had been Lindy. Um, you're gonna have, you got to find a building. Once you find a building, you're gonna have to have permits, a building inspection permit, permits for any type of signage that you do, because every town is going to have different stipulations that they put on the building and what they will allow. That you got to make sure that the building is up to code. You got to make sure that the building is for what you're opening it for, like if it's commercial property or if it's residential property, so on and so forth.
Especially with automotive, because it may
Yeah,
look automotive, but they
yeah,
may be like, yeah, it was automotive because it looks automotive, but it's not automotive anymore. Now it has to be an antique store. Like that definitely happens where they're trying to
yeah,
like transition an
yep,
area, and
yeah.
that's the end of it.
So once you get all that set up, you'll have to pay all your little fines and or not necessarily fines, but all your fees and stuff like that. Like my building inspection, it's a 1,600 square foot building. It's actually the building that I tented in about 13 years ago because when I worked with ProTint, we went through three separate buildings. Um, the one that I'm in is the second building that we were in. Um, but there hadn't been nobody in that building since ProTint left, 13, 14 years ago, 12 years ago, something like that. But they come in, and I waited and waited and waited and waited and waited because you're at the mercy of the town or the city, the
Right.
municipality, wherever you're opening a business at. You're at their mercy. Well, this particular building inspection was being done by the county inspections because the town didn't have a building inspection person. So I waited almost a week and a half for the building guy to come out to do an inspection. When he gets there, I swear to you, Eric, he got out of his truck, he walked in, like walked through my front door, walked through my past my front counter into my garage portion. He looked around, he was like, "All right, you're good," and he turned around and walked out. That cost me $100. a
Yeah.
hundred dollars for 2 minutes of his time. Literally walked in. Oh yeah, it looks good, and he turned around and walked out. That's it. I waited a week and a half for you to come in here and do that.
Yeah, that's the efficiency of local government or any government.
Jesus, like
Yeah.
you didn't lift nothing up. You didn't look behind nothing. I mean, I could have hid some stuff in the bathroom. He didn't even go in the bathroom to look, make sure there was electric running there properly with water in this.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's aggravating.
Yeah.
Be prepared for an aggravating time.
Be thorough with the place you rent, because
Um,
if you rush the wrong place, you can really dig yourself into a
yep,
hole. You really have to make sure you know what you're renting before you rent a place for
yes,
automotive.
yes. Once you get all that and you get all your stuff paid, hey, you're up and running. You're gonna need some power. You're gonna need
Yeah.
some water. Um, and so, like right now, I've got obviously my rent, my insurance,
Internet.
internet, and lights and water.
Yeah.
Um, my trash. I've got a huge dumpster just on the side of my building that come with the in my rent. That I can throw all my trash in, so I don't even have to pay anybody trash. It's included in my rent. So other than that, run your business.
What do you say? Like open a shop. Obviously, it depends on the size and so on. But if you're opening your first shop, I think a good number to like have as an earmark is you could do it for 10. It might be 15 or 20, but like if you have $10,000, like, and you really, it's just you don't have staff, you need a place to tend, you can rent a garage for anywhere from 800 to maybe $1,500. You're going to pay your first and last and maybe a security that ate up 3 grand. You're going to spend a
Yeah,
couple grand in everything. You're going to need film. You're going to need a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And around $10,000, you're going to be 10 windows every day. And if you
yeah,
don't have any staff and you have some business coming in, you've established a name, I think you're rolling from there. I don't think
yeah.
it shouldn't feel like a monumental thing. I think 10,000's a
Oh,
good number.
yeah. That sounds like a
But you're
really good
not putting
number,
Swiss track
especially.
floors and
Yeah,
don't that's not what we're talking about. And you
yeah,
can, don't go out hiring 3 tinners if you could even find 3 tinners, because
yeah.
that's not in the budget either. We're just saying if you want a place to bring in cars and do your work and get it out.
Yeah, that's just like right now. I did have to. I didn't have to, but I did for the aesthetic look of it and also contamination. Um, but the one wall or one side wall and the very back wall in my shop was just open insulation. So I actually went over it with some particle board up about 12 foot, um, just to kind of cut that part of anything getting in the window tint jobs or vinyl wraps, you know, just to block all that off. And just that alone cost me $1,000 in material. And I my dad helped me put all the wood up and stuff like that. But I mean, something as small as adding some wood to a wall was $1,000. Well, I still want to paint it. I want to paint all the whole shop. I want to paint it white. The floor I would like to get redone, at least re-epoxied or whatever.
Sure.
Um, but I'm still working on it. The owner has pretty much given me, hey, you, as long as you're in it, you do what you want to it. It's not going to affect us unless I was to go out and blow out the wall to make the shop side bigger. I'm not doing that. But that's something else to look at, because you're, so like with me, I'm only paying $750 a month. I'll throw it out there. I'm paying $750 a month for a 1,600 square foot shop. I've got a nice little foyer area when you walk in. I've got a nice size waiting room with a flat screen TV, chairs, the whole 9 yards, refreshments, and then I've got a part of the, in that same section of the building, I've got my vinyl graphic table, all my vinyl rolls and stuff like that. I've even got like a little nook in the back for my little 4 year old when he comes up to hang out, and then the shop portion. But I worked it out. One reason why I got it so cheap is because I told the guy, this is what I want to do to the shop. This is what I want to do to it. And if you're okay with it, perfect. This is what I'm willing to pay if I'm doing all this extra work to your
Right.
building for you. So, I mean, if anything, I'm making his building better. And so as long as I'm making it better, he's okay with it. Just, I mean, if you're looking for something to where you can get it a little cheaper, maybe you can push that on to the person that you're trying to rip from. Hey, if I add these walls, or hey, if I add this ceiling, or if I paint these walls, so,
Right.
but
And
yeah,
that's a fine line to teeter because it really does depend on your scenario,
yep,
the type of landlord you have, and if he's crazy or if he's going to be long term with you, and so on. Because like if you're, let's just say you're like 30 and you're like, I'm going to go rent my first shop. Just putting it out there. Maybe you have 30 more years ahead of you. You may, as you grow, want to keep growing into a bigger and bigger rental shop, and you keep putting money into it and so on. But at some point, it may have been better to keep a little bit of that money aside and potentially buy a shop because, the one thing in business is you don't want to get
yeah,
kicked out of the business you've been in for a long time. And, when does a problem come? It'll come when you're doing the best. So when you
yeah,
have tons of vehicles in there and you look great and you're doing great, that's in the landlord and you're coming up for renewal. They go, well, let's put the squeeze on this guy. He's been there. And
yeah,
that happens a lot. So, like, I'm not saying in any way that you're over improving, but I'm saying it's just something people should always have on the back of their minds.
yeah,
If you have a 3 year lease, don't go in there spending so much money up front over improving everything because in 3 years you might move. You might realize it's not even the best spot for you and you need more space. And like you can't take the wood floors with you and the
yeah.
drywall. So I'm just saying.
I agree. I agree with that.
Joshua Reeves asked what the population is in your area.
Ooh, hang on a minute. I mm, in the county that I live in, it's 209,339 as of 2019.
So it feels kind of small, but it's not middle of nowhere. It's a city.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
county.
yeah. That is the whole county, and Smithfield is kind of like the middle marker of the whole county.
You have a lot of tin
Um,
shops around you.
um, there's you got Sound Station, which is they're it's not necessarily a tent shop per se. They've actually opened up to doing a whole bunch of different other stuff. You got them, Tyler Barbie. He's probably watching maybe. Um, he's probably about 10 minutes away from me.
If I'm looking
You've
for a
got
home tint, how many good options do I have?
like residential stuff.
Yep.
I know Tyler's tinting homes. There's not many. There's not
So a lot of
that
opportunity to
I
soak
know
up
of.
that
There's
market.
yeah, and I've done several. I know Tyler's done several. I've seen on his Facebook. There's which I don't think I don't think he's doing house. I think he does. He's only automotive. Um, funny story as far as residential stuff goes. I did a lady's house not long ago, and she told me that the sound station place that I was speaking of, they when she called them to ask for a quote or for them to come out and take a quote, the guy told her that she was going to have to bring all of her home house windows to their
Shut up.
shop. I swear to God.
They had to just been playing a game on her, like a
I
joke.
don't. Maybe they didn't want to do it. Maybe I don't know. But they actually told her to bring. They would have. She would have to bring the windows to their facility in order for them to quote it. And she was like, "When you told me you would come out, I found that a whole lot more appeasing than me having to take out 17 windows out of my house and bring."
That's an awesome way to do it.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of different, but whatever.
That's
Um,
awesome.
but yeah, I mean, it's there's several. There's Hunter Womble, um, and then there's more as you start to venture out into the next county, as far as window tint shops. But there's as far as in Johnston County, there's not a whole lot. Um, I think Tyler, he's doing it. He's got a nice little garage building that's detached from his house that he's doing it in. Um, There's as far as tent shops, there's a guy named Frank James. He's in Johnson County. He's got a brick and mortar shop. And last I heard, he's actually starting to do more of the like motorcycle like restoration and stuff like that. So I think he's starting to get out of it slowly. Um, so yeah, I mean, there's plenty of potential for especially like me and Tyler. You know, he's helped me out. He's sent me people. I've sent him people, vice versa. Rich Morrison, RM Tent Pros. He's probably about 30 minutes away from me. Um, same deal, but he's the mobile guy that I was telling you about. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's plenty of room for plenty of pie to go around for everybody. I've had some people be like, "Well, what about your competition?" Well, and when I say this, I don't mean it in the way that everybody like, "Oh, I don't have competition." I've got other brothers and sisters that do the same thing that I do. We stick to plastic to glass, and at the end of the day, we're all a family. So,
Are you going to make it out to the competition in Orlando in January?
yes,
Nice.
yes, me and my wife will be there.
And then you're competing, yeah?
Yes,
That's cool. Um,
under tent league. So,
so yeah, no, so it's cool that you'll be out there. It's, I mean, yeah, I mean that's a thank you in itself. But just the fact that you're out there, like that sort of mentality, that sort of person, it's obviously contagious. So I appreciate you doing this. I'm glad I'll see you in January in Orlando, and yeah, thanks for being you. Thanks for all you share in the groups, and like I said, thanks for taking the time out of your evening to do this. It's been an hour and 8 minutes, so um, I think it flew
yeah, man.
by. Hopefully, it
Yeah,
flew by for you.
it wasn't too bad. My wife and little boy's in one of the other bedrooms right now. She was like, I'm gonna lock him in the back so that he's not trying to. Because I mean, he would be all in the screen right now. He loves this stuff. So,
We'll get back to vacation and enjoy your evening. And thank you again.
all right, buddy. If anybody has any questions, need any help, just let me know. I mean, I just one other thing. I went down and I helped Jeff Welch out with Tent Hosilla. He was having some issues last year as far as being able to hire somebody. I don't mind helping. I mean, if you need the help that works there, I will help. Whether it's via video, whether it's phone call, messenger, you can text me. Don't matter. I'll come down if it's not too far for me to go, then I'll come down and I'll help tint windows. I love it. So
So, really quick on that subject, I won't take you very long, just another minute. But if the phone rings after we hang up now, we're going to disconnect. We're going to end this live stream, and the phone's going to ring, and it says, "Hi, I'm so and so from so and so window film company. Let's say Expel." And they say, "Haas, I saw your Tint Wisdom. You seem like a really nice guy. You seem like you could offer a lot to the industry. We'd love to hire you to come work with us and be a part of that community. Would you potentially close your shop for how do you view an opportunity like that? Do you see that as a potential next stage one day to working for a manufacturer?
mm, I don't know. Well, I would have to do some thinking about that because I mean, there again, kind of the same thing as what I started out. When I left doing tent and got into law enforcement, I wasn't really ready to open up a shop. I don't know that I'm ready to work for a manufacturer just yet. Um, I, I enjoy what I'm doing. Not to mention the fact I literally just started my shop.
But would it be
Uh,
fair to say if somebody wanted to hire you, they would need to make sure that number one, you feel appreciated, number two, that you feel satisfied that you're able to help people. And if you are put in a position to be able to help people with their shop, with their training, with their tinting, that would probably be the best angle to get somebody like you, which is a very stand up guy. Like you just have a very even temper, you're very logical and calm. And, like that's a big asset to a company, a huge
yeah.
asset. So I'm just throwing it out there into the ether. Like that would be the angle, right? Like it's probably not just about a couple bucks. It's more about what the job is.
Yeah, I mean, my family's got to be taken care of too at the end of the day. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I wouldn't want to go working for a manufacturer and not be making the amount of money that I'm making as an installer. So I mean, but
140 a year. You say yes?
who's coming up with all these questions right now? Because I'm being nice. I remember the last time. My phone is right here. I do not have it open. So who's
Okay, I'm
coming up
just
with these
wondering.
questions?
We can hang up now. We can disconnect. I was just wondering. I'm just curious because I don't know. Just these are the things that cross my mind. I wonder, like, if I'm watching this, if I'm looking to grow my team on a manufacturer level, I would want to pluck somebody like you and bring you in and say, hey, let's do something bigger.
140 a year.
140 a year plus there's going to be some bonuses. Your whole family gets health care, and you obviously have vacation pay and so on. Like you get
Do I
the
have do I have to move my family?
no, absolutely not. You do have to travel once in a while, but most of it's done virtually through video like this.
Sure. When do I start?
I don't know. We'll hang up now and we'll figure out. I was
I don't
just
know. We'll see.
wondering. All right, man.
I'll have to go back and watch the video, I suppose.
Thank you for doing this. Enjoy your vacation and enjoy your vacation, man. Have a great evening.
See you guys. Thank y'all.
Thanks again for sharing. Bye, everyone.